My name is Susan Lieu, and I am a playwright, performance artist, and activist.
Kids say stupid things to their parents all the time. What I didn't realize was that Friday, September 27th, 1996, was the last day I would ever see my mom.
140 Pounds is a true story of how I lost my mom to plastic surgery malpractice when I was 11 years old, and my search to find the man responsible for her death.
That morning, she went in for plastic surgery. A tummy tuck, the narrowing of her nostrils, and a chin implant, and figured she'd be home the next day with her beautiful new body. 2 hours into the operation, she lost oxygen to her brain.
My performance career started about 10 years ago. I thought the Mayan calendar might be real, and if it is true and it's the end of the world, like, what would I regret? And for me, that regret would have been not to try stand-up comedy. So I took it on stage, and for a year I was at it, and I started headlining shows, and I was at Caroline's on Broadway, and everything was happening really quickly. And then I started getting heckled, and I started really questioning what was I sharing with the audience and why. So I started giving myself structure, because when I was a stand-up comic, it was a very lonely journey, and I need a team. And so I decided to take solo performance classes. And on the first day of class, the teacher says, "All right, everyone, tell a 5-minute story." And so I thought about the story, and then I shared with a group, and this was the first line. I wanted to avenge my mother's death.
You know, Susan, people deal with death in all different ways. Have you considered a therapist? I'm trying to avenge my mom's death here. I really think this could be it.
And so that was 2 years ago. And since then, I've been iterating on the story. It's been a forcing function for me to interview my family and retrace my mom's last day and read all these legal depositions and really figure out what was happening, because no one in my family ever wanted to talk about it. And as the youngest person, I've always felt in the dark about her and about what happened. And I was just like, no more. I'm an adult now, and I need to have closure on this. And so I look for the doctor. I reach out to his family, and then I produce this show. What has been beautiful about the entire process of putting on this production has been I have been going through the emotional curve, right? For years, I was in denial about my mom's death. I was like, well, it happened. What am I going to do? And that was our entire family grieving. So that's denial. And then going through the first show, was anger. I was rageful. I was so angry at the doctor. And then over time, there's been deep sadness, and especially about, I play 11 characters, and my director, Sarah Porklob, has always been like, you got to bring humanity to these characters, 360 them. But it's brought me to this really beautiful place, because now it's I forgive the doctor and his family. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at my mom for leaving me and dying what I thought was a senseless death, right? It was elective cosmetic surgery. It wasn't something that, and that's why I never wanted to share this, was because it wasn't a good way to die. It wasn't oh, she was battling cancer, or oh my God, there was this drunk driver. It was something that she had some agency in. And so I think that's what makes the show so complicated. Humans are complicated. And after going through denial, anger, sadness, frustration, all of that, now we've gotten to this really beautiful place where it's not even about me anymore. And for me to share the story every single night, what happens afterwards is the entire group has this amazing collective experience where we're laughing, we're crying, and we're remembering what it means to be alive, and the agency that we have to be alive, and what choices do we want to make. During the premiere in February, we had the show. My 2 siblings from California flew up, Kang, the oldest one, Wendy, the chocolatier, and they were part of the post-show talkback. And this was the first time we talked about my mother's death, ever. I learned some new things. Right after the show, my sister leans over to my brother and was like, "Did you really pull the plug on Mom?" He was like, "Yeah." And then on stage, my brother was like, the moderator was like, "So how did the show impact you?" And he goes, Susan kept asking me for stuff. She kept doing this performance stuff. I just kept asking her if she had a real job. And And then the more she asked me to go find the photos and find these things that we had buried away, the more I realized I really did miss Mom. And I thought lighting incense and putting them in the altar and having all those things, I thought that was for the older generation. But I realized I miss Mom. So I bought an altar. I started lighting incense. I started offering her food and asking her to join us on these significant family events because now he has kids. And during their karate tournaments and all these other things, he invites her to come and bless them. So now, like, my mom is, like, alive again.
We meet in 73 during the war. The first thing I ever gave your mom was crabs. Excuse me? In Vietnam, when you give woman crab, she won't marry you.
And then my dad, he doesn't approve of this. He's also very private. And he doesn't think people should know about our business, which I totally get. So he told me not to take the tour to Houston, where he lives. So I didn't. I'd rather talk to him in the long run than not. But I really wish he could see that something is happening for Vietnamese Americans. Something's happening for Asian Americans. Something's happening for women. Something's happening for, if you are alive, something is happening in that room. And I wish he could really see me the way I want to be seen. Someone once told me that sometimes each of our own traumas are having discussions with everyone else's traumas. So we're not actually having a conversation. It's our traumas battling it out. And I see that's what's happening between me and my dad. So as much as I'm like trying to set this example and talk about my experience, you know, in real life, it's still not easy. But then it goes back to like, which identity do I want to choose now? Right? Like, I want to be a good Vietnamese daughter. And at the same time, I have this higher calling to do something that I know has such a net positive. And so that has lit a fire under my ass to throw everything at the wall and try everything and go as hard as I can. Because I don't want to live a life where I just look forward to the weekend. I don't want to live a life where I feel like 9 to 5 is life-taking. I want to live a life where just the day is life-giving. That all comes from privilege. And I recognize that. And I'm at this point where I am standing on top of the sacrifices of so many generations that this is time I'm going to play that privilege card. Because if not my generation do that, which generation is it? So I'm playing that card right now. So I'm trying to create a reality where I can have all the things. It just requires a lot more hustle.
How come you only want to talk about sad thing? Why not happy thing? I'm just trying to find out the truth. The truth? You only focus on how she died. Why not how hard she worked? 6, 7 days a week, all the weekend. She do everything for you.
After I got married 4 years ago, my husband and I were starting to talk about kids. And I felt like my life always could go either way. Like I could have kids, I could not have kids. And if I really did choose to have kids, I didn't want to be resentful. I didn't want to live vicariously through them. I didn't want to consciously become a tiger mom. If I was going to choose to bring another life into this world, I needed to do it in a way that I wasn't, where the love was pure. Instead of it coming from a place of my own hurt and lack of my own life and my own childhood and my own loss.
When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? What did you love about me? If I have a girl, how do I make her love her body? When can you hold me again?
Because I am vulnerable to look at spaces that I never wanted to look at, I encourage you to also look there too. Like on an individual level, I hope that viewer walks out of there and makes a new choice. right? We're very habitual creatures, and it's very easy to live our lives the way we've been going at it. And I wonder at that point, can you drink the other pill, right? Like the Matrix, right? Can you just deviate and then see if you get new data, new information? Is there someone that you want to close the loop with, for example? So I hope on an individual level, people are touched and take action. Reframe how they've been thinking about something. Get brave about something. Live like they're gonna die. For a career point of view as an artist, I mean, of course I have the Netflix special fantasy. Of course I want to scale this story. I see how powerful it can be, and so I don't want it to live in theater walls. And so I want to start exploring this across different mediums: podcast, book, film, TV. Because the story should be shared.